Picture this. It's 2008 and your mother just got laid off from her job as a nurse at the local hospital. It's 8 p.m. and you have school in the morning. There's a pot roast in the kitchen on an ever-warming crock pot. There's an air of unease that seeps through the walls of the household. An awkward family dinner. Everyone at the table feeling the tension in the air, but nobody has the heart to speak it into existence. From 2007 to 2009, America was rocked to the core by an economic recession and a housing crisis. Thousands lost their homes and millions more lost their jobs. 19 out of every 1,000 marriages ended in 2008. And it all happened before the eyes of teenagers and fresh college graduates. These graduates were thrust into the heart of an economical crisis that nobody had equipped them to handle. And here we find ourselves today, with a plethora of horror and drama films that are a perfect reflection of the trauma faced by these young men and women in their budding writing careers. So just how can we recognize how the 2008 recession changed screenwriting forever? Ari Aster, award-winning filmmaker, wears his experiences on his sleeves and paints them onto the screens for all to see. With his breakout film Hereditary, a horror film about a family thrown into disarray after the death of family's daughter, Charlie, Aster takes focus on parental trauma through the lens of the son, Peter. Peter's mother, Annie, focuses all of her grief towards her son and places immense blame on him for the death of Annie. In an unbearably tense scene, Annie erupts in a fit of rage, offloading all of her stress and anguish on Peter, who is clearly in great pain already. As Joni Hayward explains in her journal, No Safe Space, Hereditary is an example of part of the tradition of making monsters of societal problems in horror films, whether those monsters are supernatural or otherwise, while paving the way for a shift in the horror genre. Peter feels fear wherever he goes. It isn't a film where home can be a safe space for the characters, but instead it becomes the root of their issues. In a scene where we see Annie pouring gasoline on a sleeping Peter, we start to realize that Annie is not only blaming her son for the death of their daughter, but for the death of the family. The burden he carries is hers to carry as well. This reflects the familial burdens that parents experienced and passed on to their children throughout the recession. As horror theorist Tim Snelson recalls, the ongoing morbid fascination of media industries and audiences with supernatural narratives involving embattled homes resonates with the reality of many recession-era households. Peter doesn't fully understand why his mother despises him. He simply feels the anguish in the household reflected back onto him. And this household is one that since 2008 had never been a stable environment for the family. One of the major themes we see cropping up in horror films today is the idea of a broken home. This idea of a broken home within the horror genre reflects back the fears and the trauma experienced throughout the 2008 recession, where families were broken apart due to economic strife and other grief. One of the most critically acclaimed films of the last decade, Everything Everywhere All at Once, explores many different ideas in its subject matter. But what resonated with me the most is the driving force for the rest of the plot: financial problems. The Daniels, the directors of the film, are in similar boats as Aster, in that they were budding film students as the recession was in full swing. You can see this through their writing. Everything Everywhere presents financial strife in a way that really sells home the hardships of these characters. The parents of the story, Evelyn and Waymond, own a laundromat in San Fernando Valley in California. Their laundromat in this film represents a business and a financial stream of a bygone era, one before the economical upswing of the 2010s, and one where the recession put family matters on the back burner in favor of survival. According to the Public Policy Institute of California, in 2008, the 90th percentile of households lost a median 5% income just that year. As the story starts to begin, Evelyn and Wayman are making their way to the IRS. They've messed up their taxes and they're gonna lose everything if they don't figure it out. Within this setting, in a flashback scene of Evelyn's life, we see the effects of the recession on her life.
今晚你看，好开心，很开心。你看，所有这些东西都是我们的。
阿爸又係我啊！你嬲完未啊？等緊你嘅電話。
真的嗎？
You come back here! Shut up! You don't talk to your mother like this!
我睇有電話關於你爸爸。
I have to finish all of
The laundromat was once spotless and alive, but now it's left unkempt and scattered. This reflection of a middle-class lifestyle shows just how hard it has been for many people's lives to turn themselves around. Despite the recession happening over a decade ago, we still feel the repercussions of it today. All of these financial problems the family is facing is a root issue of the gap formed between Evelyn and her daughter. A wall of taxes disconnects her from her own child and drives a stake in their relationship, and the relationship with her husband. The Daniels connect the audience, making them feel as though they are experiencing their earlier years once again, seeing their family fall apart and struggle. This trauma that was laid down in 2008 never left these writers. Every day when they write a new page of a script, that trauma they experienced through the recession stays with them, and you can see it in their writings. Thank you for listening. You can find my sources listed on the screen.